No, I am in a very, very bad mood today. No, 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 no. And I know you might be looking and thinking, Adele, you have nobody's dusty, demon-possessed son causing you any trouble. You have no children screaming, yelling, using up your money for free. You got the job you wanted, you're living in the mountains, you're living in a small town, hair's growing really long, you've got your eye on a vehicle that you want to get. Okay, hold on, I'm talking myself out of it. That's not what we're going for in the dramatic YouTube video. Look, let me show you. Okay? Let's go. Right now, I'm gonna show you what is pissing me off. See? Get a real, you see? Look at that railing, okay? That's how much snow has fucking fallen. Look at these stairs that I have to look at the snow. Even the trees are over it. The crows are getting pissed off. I was riding my bike 2 days ago. So, I'm gonna get on here, do my makeup on camera. This is gonna help put me in a better mood. And I realized I really like some of the older vlogs that I did. I am powered up by Organic Traditions Dirty Chai. This has got like a bunch of different medicinal mushrooms and some instant coffee. I thought I had instant coffee. Yeah, oh my god, this is instant coffee and black tea. And then it's got like cinnamon, vanilla, cloves, cardamom. It sounds amazing, but I'm gonna be honest, I actually don't recommend this. I kind of hate the like bitter taste of mushrooms, and I do like medicinal mushrooms, but just like shoot them and then enjoy your coffee the way you want it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I was thinking, I was looking back on videos of myself here on this channel from literally like 6 months ago, 8 months ago now, like when I was in Mexico. We're going in with the Estee Lauder Double Wear giant thing that I got for free. And I'm like, who was that princess? Like, where did she go? I'm like, you know, I can't blame a man. Well, okay, let's just say I can't blame a man right now for my little downfall, okay? Because over the past 8 months, I have gained weight. I have, like, I just don't look so good, and which is totally normal, I think, if you move from Mexico to winter and the current state of the country in Canada. Okay, so, and then, you know, getting back involved with your family, starting a new job, having to move multiple times, having to live with a roommate, like all of these things have added an immense amount of stress to my life, and it's showing up in the way I look, and frankly I don't like it. That being said, one of the things that got me through, I apparently have a bunch of stuff to say today, so like one of the things that got me through my miserable childhood was frank delusion and belief. That was it. I was completely deluded. I remember in grade school, this is gonna be it's gonna be a long video. Go get yourself some something to drink. In grade school, I had a bunch of girlfriends, and one day we were sitting around on the grass, and we had this one girl who was like the prettiest girl in the school. Yeah, she had these really beautiful fine features, these really deep brown eyes, very beautiful, this long hair. She was like tall and thin, everything, and she was like super popular, but she was also like really kind and nice, even though she had some traits of like bad popular girls. Like I remember I've always been kind of a person who could go between different crowds, you know. I think that's part of my personality. It's like also something you kind of have to deal with when you don't fit in racially anywhere. You just don't have an inherited sense of belonging that people don't realize is a thing until they don't have it anymore. But anyway, so I was kind of in with that, with the popular girl crowd, but like I was also in with like the nerds and the boys, because I was a tomboy, and the art people. But I remember one time I would go walking around with them, because they walk around the schoolyard, and I was kind of chit chatting with them, whatever. And then at one point, that super pretty popular girl, she like veered off, and I think I was like kind of paying attention to the person that I was walking with, who's like her second in command. And that girl kind of veered off too, and then the popular girl's like, just making sure you guys are paying attention, right? Because she was like, I just remember my jaw dropping. Like, it's weird that people remember these moments from elementary school, but like I've just been so aware of like social dynamics and the way people are since I was a kid. Like I've been so curious about it. And so I was just like, who the fuck is following you, honey? Okay. That was just, anyway. So we're all sitting around on the playground one day, and I can't remember what happened, how we got on this topic, but we were like always talking about things. Like looking back, I'm like, that's what we used to do in grade school. Like I feel sorry for the kids now. You know, they sit around on their cell phones and they play games and everything else. I don't think they're like talking much, but we used to like sit around and talk about things. We didn't have anything else. So at one point we were kind of all sitting in a circle, me and like all these girls, and I was like kind of multicultural-ish, you know? Well, not really. There were like different types of Caucasian girls. Some of them were like, you know, Canadian born and bred. Some of them were like fresh off the boat from Poland. Didn't really fit in with the culture, kind of awkward. Maybe they have bad teeth, stuff like that. There were like wealthier girls, poorer girls, and then there were like the Asian girls, and they're like me. But anyway, so I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been the popular girl, because she was fishing for compliments. But she was like, what would you? It was kind of like that moment from Mean Girls, where she's like, so you think you're really pretty or whatever, right? So she was just like, what do you guys all think your like attractiveness is out of 10? This is before grade 6, guys. I'm talking, this must have been like grade 4 or something. So how fucking old were we having this conversation? Like 10 years old. Humans, you can't escape this. This is why I tell you, don't procreate. You're forcing your kids into the war of what do you look like and how much do you actually matter. And so anyway, I remember sitting there going, oh shit. I feel like that was my moment when I started, like I had never thought about anything like that in a real way before. I had this moment where, because I had this like pretty rich blonde girl who I was friends with, but she was like really kind of shy. And she was like really sweet, quiet kind of girl who like smiled all the time, you know? But she was like athletic and like kind of outgoing. Her and I were friends. I used to go to her house and stuff. Like I have a million stories about all of my friends from elementary school, but one time her and I were sitting, you know, we were in school or in class doing art something, and this like guy called Zane, he was from Albania or something. I think it was Albania. You know, he comes over and I can't remember what happened, but he really, really wanted to tell me this, right? I never had a fucking talk to this guy in my life. Like I said, this is like grade 4 or 5. We're like between 8 and 11 years old. And he's like, I can't remember if he's like, do you think you're attractive? And I'm just like, what? Like, sometimes people can ask me questions and I'll just be so annoyed I'm not going to answer. I'm just going to be like observing them, like, what is wrong with you? You know, I don't feel pressure to instantly answer a question that someone asked me. I'm still like that. And I was just like, what? And he's like, this is attractive. And he pointed to like my blonde friend, and she was just like, she kind of smiled and like giggled, and he's like, not you. or something like that. It's really, really funny because in my head I remember thinking, and it's so funny. This is how I have viewed my life. I've viewed my life as like a movie unfolding, or like chapters in a book with like plot points, which is why my book that I wrote about all of my crazy racial experiences is so interesting. Like, I've been thinking about my life this way in a long time. Same with my memoirs from the craziest moments I had in Mexico. I have like a handful of books I can write about craziest moments in my life. So anyway, I remember in my mind thinking, and it's crazy that I was thinking this at such a young age, but I was just thinking like, I feel like this is a moment in someone's life where they're gonna look back and be like, this is where my self-confidence and issues with my looks started, in this moment where I was compared to my pretty rich blonde friend. And I was just laughing. I literally didn't give a fuck. And like, I've been in therapy, you know, like I will admit to things that did hurt me and did have an effect on me and made me vulnerable. That was not one of them. I literally didn't give a fuck. I still don't. You know, like I don't see women as competition for me in terms of looks. I'm very different from women who look like me, and I'm very different from women who don't look like me. So they're like, nobody's my competition. If I was to be there it is. If I was around women who looked like me and were kind of like me, personality and interest and intelligence wise, then I could see myself being threatened. But nobody, like, I'm just very, very unique, you know, and so I don't think of myself in competition with other women. I don't, like, somebody, yeah, right? I'm a guy who'd be interested in this quiet little shy rich blonde girl who doesn't have much to say and goes along with everything.
But that's not a guy that I'd be interested in at all.
And that's where comparing your looks as a woman comes from you know, mate guarding, and also for like opportunities. Any job that would want her over me is not a job that I would be trying to compete with her for. Do you know what I mean? I was gonna say I'm sad that my friend didn't speak up for me in that moment. She's kind of sat there. She's like, that guy said I'm pretty. But I didn't really care. Like, I knew that's what she was like. and I was like such a mouthy little, scrappy little, weird, crazy kid, you know. And it's funny because I was like mostly quiet until somebody just like hit me the wrong way or said the wrong thing, and then boom, you don't find out the truth. It's weird. Like, it's weird thinking back on that, like how that didn't even affect me at all. And then this moment on the playground where the pretty popular girl was like, oh no, I think, was she like telling us to like arrange ourselves and like who is the ugliest and who is the prettiest. I wish I could talk to some of my friends from back then, because I'm like, who was the ugliest? Because I remember in my mind thinking, oh, it's gonna be me, and it wasn't. Who the hell was that? And is she okay? Was she as insane and as self-possessed as I was, that she just did not give a fuck? I sure hope so. So everyone was like giving their alms to the pretty popular girl. I think, I don't fucking remember exactly what happened, but we were all just like, oh no, you are like a 10, you're like perfect girl, like, you know, gassing her up, which was, I think, you know, what she wanted. I remember people, like, nobody wanted to say like who, I think there was like someone said who like the next prettiest was under her or something, and then like the conversation kind of petered out. And she's like, well, what number would you guys give yourselves? And I just remember going, oh God. Like, it was funny because, like, I do remember thinking, like, in that moment, thinking about something like that for the first fucking time. And just being like, I don't know. I think it would be something low, like, in my mind, right? But then when they got to me, they're like, Adele, like, what would you, like, rate yourself out of 10? I was just like, there's no way I was gonna say anything. I was like, I do not know. Like, in my mind I was gonna say like 3 2, and like, you know, I was such an awkward looking little kid, and on top of that I was a tomboy. People often thought I was a little black boy. Okay. So yeah, I didn't fit societal standards. I should have technically just been like that little big, kind of overweight, dark black girl in that video who's like, I'm ugly, and who like bursts into tears. That video just kills me every time because, you know, I was raised and forced into an environment in which the way I naturally looked, you know, put me at a disadvantage, right? But parents don't think about things like that. They don't think about your existence, what difficulties you'll face. They don't think about how school is like sitting you under fluorescent lights for 8 hours a day with strangers and weird people to be programmed by the government to become a factory worker one day. That in itself is wrong and fucked up and weird. They don't think about that either. They don't think about anything. Most people are like Johann Goethe, the humans he describes, where he says most people are not evildoers but sleepwalkers. So my parents did evil to me by A, forcing me into the world, B, forcing me into going to school, C, forcing me to go into school in Canada. You know what I mean? But anyway, oh now the snow is like melting. Oh, my eyebrows are pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. But would you believe it? They were like, and the pretty girl's like, and she was like looking at me, like trying to think of what she was gonna say to me, like trying to judge like my look. And she's like, I think you're like an 8. It was really funny in that moment because I was like happy that she said that. And look, this is literally 4 decades later, and I still remember it. But in that moment, I kind of knew. I was just like, I don't think so, you know. I actually started thinking about how, like, it's weird because I was thinking in this conceptual way about it. I was like, I think she's given me a participation trophy. I feel like she's saying that, you know, to not, because she wants to be seen as like benevolent, and because she's trying to be nice and doesn't want to hurt my feelings. And you guys know that I'm not really that kind of person. I kind of believe in like, just say it like it is. Right? I don't do that now because I've learned that it's not really societally acceptable. And if you want to participate in society, you kind of got to go along with some of the rules. And if you don't agree with them, and like, you know, running around telling everyone your opinion all the time, your objective opinion, is like very antisocial, emotionally stunted behavior. And then saying, you can't handle it, you're a snowflake. Well, no, that's just, do you know what I mean? So I do prefer to have friends who I can be honest with, but like in general, I'm not going around telling people the truth. And the truth is objective anyway. It's filtered through, you know, our opinions, our experiences, our traumas, and everything else. But I do remember in that moment being like, feeling the dichotomy of being like happy that she said that, but also being like, I think she's given me a participation trophy for showing up without a paper bag over my head. So I'll take it. I decided to kind of carry on with that in my life. I always kind of had that in my mind, like, well, actually, no, it's not true. I went through, junior high is when it hit me. Junior high is when it hit me that I started feeling ugly. And I started wearing a hoodie every single day. Like this big oversized hoodie with the hood up every day. That's pretty crazy, huh? So yeah, I did go through, you know, a lot of negative things around the way I looked. But I don't know, I also have this well of complete, total, and utter delusion that I like to draw upon as well. Where I'm just like, I think very highly of the way that I look at all times. It may be delusional, but I don't care. And if you kind of act a certain way, people will buy it for the most part. Without even realizing what's going on. It's like this weird vampire glamour magic. If you act hot, people will treat you like it, right? However, it does get to the point where you're like, am I actually hot, or are people just buying into my nonsense? And the funny thing is that when you reach your 40s, I don't know, for a lot of women, I think if you're, you know, adjusted, you have to start to not care. You don't care. You know, I watched this video. This woman was talking about, she was like, there's this like grief that comes when you're in your mid-40s. It's the mid-40s ugly. And it's like you realize that people are not thinking of you as a pretty young girl anymore. And I'm like, it's like a very weird thing to say. But I feel like that's the way a lot of people in society are. They are not able to think in archetypes. They haven't thought meaningfully about their journey in this life. They're just like very, like, I don't mean to be rude. I'm not saying this in a rude way, because being superficial is unfortunately a part of what's necessary in the human experience. You have to be fucking superficial. Sorry. This is what your parents signed you up for. That's how things work here. You can't, you know, walk around with a lampshade on your head and say, oh, if people don't like it, they gotta accept me. Which is funny because I actually literally did that in grade 6. We had to go to, we're going to this like Fort Edmonton. We were going on this trip to Fort Edmonton, and I remember like at the last minute thinking, are you supposed to wear a like medieval old-fashioned costume to Fort Edmonton? And I had nothing. I was like looking around. Literally before I walked out the door, I put a lampshade on my head and I attached it with a scarf, and I left the scarf trailing down because I think that was like back when I was like watching Robin Hood, the cartoon from Disney, which I loved as a kid. And I actually met a really hot real life Robin Hood guy. Oh, he's amazing. That is in one of the stories on my cartoons that I have here on my channel, where I talk like about warnings for women. You can find it on my playlists if you want to see what happened with that guy. Like, there's something very attractive about men who are good in that kind of way. And maybe it came from the Robin Hood thing. I don't know. But this guy could like do all kinds of crazy trick shooting and stuff. Anyway, I remember thinking like, I look like Maid Marian from Robin Hood, and that I was like totally on point. So I showed up to school. Nobody else was dressed up. And then there was a photo. They took a photo of the whole class and they tinted it with sienna, and they published it in a little sienna tinted like a program to send home to show our parents. And it's really fucking hilarious. I would pay good money for that thing to this day. I know there's a bunch of people from my past who stalk me sometimes here on socials, because sometimes you all reach out and I'm like, who is this? Why do you know everything about my life? Oh yeah. Anyway, so if anyone has that, please let me know. Outside at Fort Edmonton, old-fashioned photo. You see this one little dark face that you can't make out because the photo quality is quite bad, with a lampshade on her head. And you know what's funny is like I didn't realize I was being weird. I didn't realize any of those things. And like, you know, I look back on myself back then and I have so much love for myself. Like, I was such a cute little kid, man. I was so imaginative and I tried so hard, and I was in so much pain, you know, with everything I was going through with my family and being poor and everything else. But I didn't care, you know. I had such an awesome imagination. And I had a lot of good ideas, and I wasn't jealous. You know, I had a lot of friends who were prettier and richer, who had normal parents, quote unquote normal parents. You grow up and you realize, oh. But yeah, I was a really cool kid. All of that to say, I'm looking back at the videos of myself. I feel like I need more blush. That's good enough. You know what? When I don't have to work, I do whatever the fucking hell I want. I don't want to wear a bra. I don't wear bras on the weekends. Like, that is such a travesty to me that I have to wear a bra. There's no way I could get away with that in real life. But on the weekends, not wearing it. And blush, I have blush blindness, but I have excessive amount of blush blindness on the weekends. I look fucking insane on the weekends, but oh yes, yes. Anyway, I'm looking back on my old videos, and I was healthy, I was radiant, I was thinner, I was younger looking, and I think a lot of women, maybe we might not admit it like out loud, but we do have this archetype. Some of it does come from Jungian longing, waiting for the masculine to show up and save us. Some of that is biological, some of that is psychological, some of that is societal conditioning from TV and books and stuff like that. But I think a lot of women really do have that on the inside, and you reach a certain point where you're like, I have to save the princess inside myself, you know? And you might go, when you first realize that, you're like, oh, this is so sad. This is what modern women, feminism, blah, blah, blah. But then you start realizing it's something older, it's something ancient, it's something important that maybe we should have seen when we were younger. And our mothers, women who cared for themselves, women who rescued their own dignity and self-worth and self-care in the battle and war of everyday life. And we didn't see that. We saw women who sacrificed themselves over and over and over again, waiting for the prince to come save them, and that never happened. And even in the times in my life where it seemed like it did, because I always chose men who did a lot for me, right? They gave me a lot, they did a lot, they were like really great in that way. There were times when, they did kind of save me. It reaches a point where you realize there's nothing they can do if you can't save yourself, and it sounds so cliched. But I've had men who would like do anything, spend anything, go anywhere. But it was like there was this side of myself that could not be reached by anyone but me. And you'll find this, there's the flip side of that with men. They want women to fill this certain role in their life. And you could look and say, oh, well, that's mommy issues, that's this and that, but it's kind of the same thing. They have to stop, and they have to be able to nurture and reach that side of themselves that they're trying to get a woman to do for them. And in the process, they will destroy a woman, depending on how far gone they are from that, right? And vice versa. Most people don't think about these things very deeply. Just like surface level red pill stuff, right? Oh, she's not in her feminine. Oh, he's a toxic masculine, right? Most people just kind of use romantic relationships to avoid unpleasant feelings about being alive. I've had to reconcile with that. I've been single for 5 years now, and I've met a couple of guys who the older version of me would already be in a relationship with by now. A couple of them. I'm like, oh, guy's so amazing. And, like, everything seemed to click. Well, not everything, right? And that's where it comes in. You reach the age of discernment as a woman, right? So, I gotta save that princess and rescue her back, because she brought so much joy and aliveness to my life, and I still am that princess on the inside. You still can maintain your radiance and everything else, but even just that sun on the inside from living in Mexico, having to go and shovel all the snow and get through all this drudgery, it's very heavy. There's just something that's so gorgeous about any day of the year being able to toss on a tank top just throw on some shades and a sun hat and walk out the door and have the sun on your shoulders and no snow to shovel and no shoes to worry about, you know, like just toss on some, no layers, no nothing, just, you know, and I miss that. But there's so many things I'm really glad to have back being in this country. So anyway, this has definitely dragged on. I'm going to be talking more about this in a more structured way on my main channel, probably. So, yeah, leave your thoughts and comments below, and I'll see you again soon.